It made it easier to see how important the shift was and to have more of that courage to do it. I think we also tend to, once we've gone down the road of education and professional experience, it tends to limit what we think we can do. Following our interest is an extremely powerful way to find the kinds of things that fuel us and that we love doing. I think humor and laughter is the natural enemy of anxiety and stress. It just naturally decreases the stress. And so I think that this is a very simple cure that for some reason we aren't applying, but could be really transformative to our modern workplaces.
You could have given up, but you didn't. You could have stopped believing, but you didn't. You could have kept living their expectations, but you decided to make this life your own. And in turn, you're here. Hello everyone, today we're meeting Elle O'Flaherty. She is a coach, she is a speaker in the field of performance optimization and career satisfaction. Hello Elle, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So let's start a conversation by exploring your personal journey of becoming the person you are today. What inspired you to start sharing your gifts in the manner that you do nowadays?
Well, it wasn't a straight shot to get here. I spent almost the first 20 years of my career as an attorney. And I was litigating for part of that and working with international organizations, and it was just very different. But what I came to find out was that the thing I enjoyed the most was working with my team, coaching them and helping them grow. And so I started just getting very interested in coaching and professional development. And that led me to perhaps taking far too much training, but getting
Mm,
many certifications in coaching and starting my business. And now I work with professionals and executives in the areas of performance, any kind of professional skills, and I have a subspecialty in ADHD, which has actually become quite a large bit of my business.
all right. Yeah, I see how your path led you to. Sometimes we can, kind of like wake up within the path that we're taking. So you mentioned 17 years you've been an attorney in your own life, and you perhaps within that 17 years never thought about changing something, but yet in once you approach that level, or maybe that wake up call or some kind of like shift that happened within you, you realize that perhaps you can apply your skills in something that would benefit more people, or maybe uplift somebody, or if you can coach somebody on the topics that you are expert in and you have a lot of value to share with those who are looking for professionals like you. And then you realize that maybe you can shift your career into doing something else, because a lot of times people are afraid to change something that is working for so many years, and that's the only thing that they know what to do, or perhaps they've been told to do throughout their life. They listen messages from family, friends, getting that feedback. But then, changing something isn't really easy, or, kind of like it's hard to accept that you can change. So, what are your thoughts on making that shift, accepting the change for yourself? And how was it for you? Did you experience any challenges? And what helped you to really stay on track with those challenges and, realize your vision that you had for yourself?
I think you're exactly right. That is it's scary and that fear really can hold us back. I work with a lot of people who want to make a career pivot, and it's that fear that does tend to stop people. And I think also that we tend to get really complacent and it's easier to just stay where we are. But when I ask people, so what is the thing that is getting pinched by you staying in this
Mhm.
career or this workplace that doesn't fit you? What is it that's getting sort of ground down? And it usually is people's own happiness. And so it's interesting that for the sake of comfort and sort of the known, we're willing to give up our own happiness.
Yeah.
Once I really realized that's what I was sacrificing, as well as the feeling of professional accomplishment and really feeling like I was doing what I was meant to do, which I
Mhm.
absolutely feel now, um, it made it easier to see how important the shift was and to have more of that courage to do it. I think we also tend to, once we've gone down the road of education and professional experience, it tends to limit what we think we can do.
Mhm.
And so again, when I'm working with clients and talking about this, people will say, well, this is what I've done in the past. So of course, that's what I will do in the future, instead of thinking,
Yeah.
I am a collected, set of skills and strengths and talents, and those can really be applied in a lot of different ways. So part of it is having the imagination to dream
Mhm.
about what we could do, as well as the confidence that we have the ability to make this kind of change. Um, I think once we become adults, it's not that common for us to make big changes and pivots in our lives, as much as it is when we're sort of kids. And so, it is something that you have to decide is important to you, and you're going to do it.
Yes, I think you just mentioned it takes a decision first, and then also you mentioned something that is confidence. Confidence sometimes, doesn't come as easily, and we have to kind of show ourselves with the small steps what we can do in order for us to build that confidence. Because a lot of times we really don't believe in our own abilities, skills,
Yep.
anything that we could apply really apart from what we've been doing, right? And that's where the scary part is. That's where we need to have that courage and really like step outside of the comfort zone and start showing ourselves what else can we do, really. And that will start building that confidence because I feel like it's built over time. Don't you agree?
I absolutely do. And I think being in a career that isn't the right fit can really start negatively impacting our professional confidence. And so we start more and more lacking that confidence. One of the things that I often suggest for people, and this is one of the ways that I made my own pivot, I knew that I enjoyed teaching and speaking. And now, of
Yeah.
course, I'm a professional speaker and I get to do it all the time. But in my previous life, I, um, along with a colleague, sort of dreamed up this training, this 2-day training we were going to put together where we would get to teach folks. It had never been done before. It was just an added project. And so I tell people, look for the opportunities that are either out there you can reach out and grab, or that you can create for yourself. So you can try out some of these skills that you'd like to use more in the future. And that helps us, as you said, more confidence and to try them out. And also, then there's something concrete on your resume. So when you start making that pivot, you have real things that you can reference that you've achieved.
Yes, definitely. You can first kind of practice in a small scale, I would say, with a smaller audience, and just see what you can do. And that would be enough evidence for yourself to really scale more and grow into becoming that person, let's say, to have that role that you play, because everything that we really decide to do is the role that we're playing in the society, and we can actually switch from one role to another, and sometimes we're not really that open to the idea that it's easy for us to switch, but maybe we just need a little bit more training on something, a little bit more like practice, let's say, right? But it's not necessarily that we are restricted to playing only one role and we just have to stick with it for the rest of our lives. So that's something like we can open up to and try for ourselves. And also, you mentioned that you have the specialty with working with people who have ADHD um, condition. And if you can just speak more about what is it that separates them in terms of how they operate and what are the approach that you would use working with people with that condition.
Good questions. Well, just referencing back to what we were just talking about, ADHD folks, we have a bit of a cheat code in finding the kinds of things that will really be fulfilling to us and that what we enjoy. Um, whereas neurotypical people have importance-based brains, so they prioritize things based on importance to themselves, to their boss or their spouse. Um, we in the ADHD community lack that functionality essentially. We have interest-based brains. And so the things that we most want to do are the things that capture our interest. But that also means that following our interest is an extremely powerful way to find the kinds of things that fuel us and that we love doing. And so when I'm working with ADHD folks, I'll often say, what do you get really captivated by? What can you spend hours doing without even noticing it? Or what's really fun to you? And so we have this natural way of finding the kinds of things or the kinds of work that will be a good fit for us. Um, and that's one thing I actually ask pretty much all of the executives and professionals that I work with. I say, so, what's fun about your work? And it's just amazing how many people, the vast majority, have no answer. They never think about having fun at work or in their professional lives. And I think that's such a lost opportunity. We're spending most of our waking hours at work and we never think about making it joyful and enjoyable. And so I'm not sure where the message came from that work should be serious and we don't think
Mm.
about fun or enjoyment. But I just don't think that's the right message these days.
Definitely. And so many people believe that that's how it should be. So they look at life that, more serious, strict, kind of like fashion, that this is what we do. This takes, all our attention, and it's just work, life, but there is no fun integrated, no enjoyment, no, kind of like creativity that we need to see as a maybe daily even practice that we do in our lives. So either you integrate it in your job that you do, or maybe you have some kind of hobby or some kind of side project that you're working on, but it has to be within your life practice, that something will inspire you. You will be in that flow state where you receive some kind of ideas, you will create something that will bring you that joy and satisfaction. And also, like you mentioned, if you have the ability to integrate that in your job, that would be just perfect, because then it's kind of like you don't have to separate those two. And that would be the ideal scenario, and you wouldn't be as hard to wake up and go. Like sometimes we have that exhaustion every time we wake up going to work. We always feel like it's gonna be hard, dragging, and, not interesting. And if we switch that, if we could start looking at it as something that will bring us that satisfaction because we integrated that fun part into that, then maybe the way we start our day even look differently. We will be looking forward to that job every single day, because we know it's not only bringing me prosperity, but also some kind of satisfaction and fulfillment that I'm getting from it. So why I'm not gonna want it? There is no reason for me not wanting that. pretty much, because it has it all. So that's the best scenario that we could create. But sometimes I think it's just, yeah, like you said, the society sending messages through social media or TV or just like people we talk to. And I don't know, for some reason we feel like it has to be hard and it's not even true. I don't know why we bind into that. Do you think there's like a way for us to switch that focus? What should we start doing on a daily basis that could help us to um, to be open to the idea that life work balance could be achieved more easily than the way we looked at it before?
I think that's such a good question. And, you know, I think especially in the beginning, it again has to be a choice. So I'll often, when I'm speaking in front of organizations, I'll say, what can you do to make this more fun? And so pausing
Mhm.
and asking that question and then adding some of those and integrating some of those ideas. I mean, it can be everything from large scale and making something, making the workplace more colorful, or, anything down to the smallest scale of I'll play some music while I'm doing this, which sometimes we don't stop to think about our own
Mhm.
comfort and joy. And it's really funny that we don't, because I think that this is the antidote to a lot of problems we're finding in the workplace, because joy and fun is the natural enemy of burnout, right? If we're having fun
Mhm.
and we're finding joy in our work, it's much more difficult to burn out on it. Similarly, I think humor and laughter is the natural enemy of anxiety and stress. And so
Mhm.
if something is funny, if we are taking things in a light way and have a lot of levity, it just naturally decreases the stress. And so I think that this is a very simple cure that for some reason we aren't applying, but could be really transformative to our modern workplaces.
Yes, and I think a lot of times it starts from leadership. Who is in charge, the supervising team, right? That creates that certain environment for their employees. They should be kind of looking into creating um, the best workplace for their workers to, first of all, be more relaxed, like you said, stress-free as much as they can, and provide them everything that they need to perform at their best ability. A lot of times now, especially after COVID, we notice how we switched from working in person to working remote and doing hybrid. That actually helps, I believe, because like from work environment, you feel more relaxed, and at least you don't have to feel that pressure every day to come into in person in the office. But even when you come, you have to feel like you're at home, let's say, right? At home, at least as much as you can, not being so stressed, but rather I think we are the best performing when we're not thinking about our needs. If our needs are covered with everything that we might be needing at this moment, right? We just focused on work more and being more productive. And like you said, colors, music, it really motivates us to even like show our best performance and to strive more. But if we are feeling tense and stressed, we don't have that motivation at all. And all we think about is just go home and relax.
And isn't it funny what you just said, going home to relax?
Yeah,
Because home, when you think about it, hopefully for most of us, is this place that makes us feel comfortable, right? And we can
right.
just take off the mask that many of us are wearing in our professional lives. We can just be ourselves
Yeah.
and feel comfortable. We can work in a place that suits our needs for privacy or for, textures, for the right temperature, whatever. But
Hmm.
what if we could make workplaces where they were more comfortable, and as you said, are meeting our needs. So we aren't spending so much energy on, working in this workplace that's very sanitary and sanitized and uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
and where we have to be the sanitized version of ourselves. Instead, if we were able to use some of that energy in the work we love and in
Right.
making the experience more joyful, it could just be so different.
Definitely. And also, I believe mental health is something that is not addressed a lot of times in workplaces, and we have to make it more like normalized in our society to speak up about how we feel, what is on our mind, what's bothering us, and make those communication between employees and their supervisors more often, and to feel like that I can just speak about it and be open about it and not hiding, like you said, wearing the mask and pretending to be somebody else while maybe you struggling so much behind that mask. But that's affecting not only your own health, but also the company metrics or whatever the level you're trying to achieve. But then if we can really like break that wall between employee and the employer and start really normalizing those kind of conversations, and maybe integrate on a at least weekly basis to check in with how do you have everything you need, what is going on in your life, and be feeling like somebody is caring about us, really, not just that we are a number, right? But we're a human being, and having those human conversation heart to heart, I think that something is very important that we need to look into in order um, to cultivate the right culture and environment to prosper for everybody.
Mhm. I agree. And that kind of leadership and managerial style that you're talking about, where a leader is able to adapt to the specific needs of the person who is working for them, and to be able to
Mm,
see them as a person rather than as sort of a widget that we're putting into the machine. Um, that is a much more advanced and difficult leadership and managerial style. It takes more
mhm.
training, it takes more energy, and you really have to focus your attention on leading people and not as much on doing the work, or some of the other things. You have to commit to you are a manager, which I think for some people it's difficult and it's challenging. And as we rise up the ranks, we don't receive that kind of training, and we aren't told how to let go of the work we used to do and sort of and instead take up being a leader. So there is a lot to that, but the benefits, not only in the workplace, of course, of people having a better experience in their professional lives and feeling more fulfilled, but also, I mean, that
Yeah.
naturally has to ripple out into the family we go home to, the community we participate in. I mean, this has such broad positive potential impacts that I think it's worth it to take the strides and take the time to try to make these changes for people.
Yeah, definitely. It makes more effort and thought process to put into how we can create those type of environment for our employees. But also, I think the benefits is just tremendous if you really do that, and you become that type of leader um, who takes into consideration needs of everybody is working for that person, right? And not only this communication and the health of the employees, but also team building part, right? So when we really, communicating with our co-workers as well, and together we achieve a better result as the environment has been created for us to thrive. And yeah, like you said, it's a ripple effect, and we just need to kind of like, I think, integrate more compassion and empathy into the workplace. And that's something that I see people start doing, but not everybody's doing that. But at least we are moving into the direction of like becoming that type of leaders for our organizations. And also, I'm thinking like, what would you suggest? Because you are coaching leaders in organizations, if I understand correctly. And what would you suggest they could also bring in that you never seen, let's say, before, has been integrated, or maybe some kind of idea that you have in your mind that would help us to really have that best environment created and the culture that we're able to thrive?
Well, I think two things really. First, the message needs to come down, and it also needs to be modeled from the top down that we are focusing on joy, that this is a place where we are very much encouraging people to lean into their strengths, and we want to align people and their talents to the task. Also, that this is a place where we are interested in making it comfortable and fit for people. And you can tell that in the way that we are building offices, right? A tiny gray cubicle has an extremely different feeling than giving people, their own office with a budget to decorate. And I realize not all workplaces are going to have that, but there are ways to communicate that message. I think the second thing we need to do is recognizing the kind of leaders that we want to cultivate. And so people who have the agility and empathy to lead in the way we're describing, where they are tailoring their approach to the individual, where they are seeking out and recognizing individual talent, that's a very specific leadership and personality type. And so putting a pipeline in place to find people that have that aptitude, to train them properly, which is key. And most managers, frankly, don't get any, if a high level of training, and to encourage those people to go for these kinds of roles rather than promoting people into management who are very good technical experts or who are very good at their job, but maybe aren't well suited to management. I think that these are two very different skill sets, and people say that a lot, but most organizations aren't developing a separate pipeline so that people can be promoted into management who are well suited to that, and people can be promoted into senior technical roles that don't require management when they are not as well suited to managing. And I think there's value in having those two separate tracks so that people don't feel like they have to become something that they don't necessarily want to just to be promoted.
Yes, I agree. And there are certain type of people that are best suited for the leader positions that maybe not necessarily want to go for the leader position, or they are avoiding, or they have some kind of fears around that. But if we really encourage and yeah, like recognize those who are best suited for it and provide the support that they need, and if they could just see for themselves that this is the best position for them, and that would be, I think, ideal scenario for us. But a lot of times we kind of like not seeing what we can do or how we can apply our skills. Sometimes I feel like a lot of people, they don't really believe in themselves enough. They don't recognize the value that they can bring in to society at large, how they can be of service to people. And that's a lot of times connected to their own, I would say, journey, like healing process. Perhaps they need to go through healing certain areas that they have to face first in order for them to grow into fully stepping into their power, let's say. And that's all about looking within ourselves first, right? Everything that we have reflected outside, it's because of the person we're inside, right? So if we are connected to our true nature, if we are peeling off all of the layers of conditioning and trauma and whatever comes with us, hindering ourselves, stopping ourselves from becoming who we can be, seeing our potential, everything is within us, and we have to start first prioritizing our mental and physical well-being, and also emotional processing. Like on a daily basis, we have to really see that our health is important and it has to be prioritized no matter what's going on. But I am important and I have to first find time, make time for myself. Don't you think?
I think, yep, I think you're exactly right. And I think one important piece of that is recognizing our own strengths and leaning into those. When you're talking about sort of peeling away the layers, too often we are trying to be what we think we should be rather than what
Mm-hmm.
we actually are. And that um, that conflict there, that struggle, it leads to sort of constant disappointment in ourselves and self-judgment. Whereas leaning into our actual nature and working with our strengths and with how we like to be in the world is just such a calmer and more powerful place to be. So yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think we might have just solved all of the world's problems in in our conversation.
Yeah, that would be great. But yeah, like recognizing strength, it's not always easy. Uh, for
Mhm.
some reason, I think whatever comes easy for us, right? Whatever we do, like without even thinking about it, which is our strength, we don't usually um, recognize it enough or make ourselves proud because of having those type of characteristics, right? But we just overlook it. It's so easy that we don't think about it, but we rather
Or we think it's
focus.
easy for everyone when it's not.
Right, right. Or we think if I can do it easily, then another person can do as well, which is not the case. And we assume that this is easy for everyone, but we have our own kind of like balance of what we have within ourselves and what we should work on really letting go and healing, or maybe like whatever was our weakness, we have to look at it and see why is it that it's difficult for us, what is connected to that type of story, because it's usually a story that we're telling ourselves and it's not necessarily true. But again, it's individual kind of journey that we're on, and we have to respect ourselves and respect other people with what they're dealing. And we don't even know what they're dealing with, because sometimes, like you said, there is a mask coming on when we're interacting with people. So we just need to be really compassionate and understanding that we can really ask of a person to do something that they're not ready to do, right? This person has to be ready and willing and have the desire to do something that is in alignment with their own, kind of vision of who they are, who they feel, who they think or believe they are at that point of time, and what they're ready to do. And it's a constant change, it's a constant evolution that we're going through. Perhaps 5 years ago, even when we reflect on our own lives, we remember the person that we were, and it's not the person that it is,
Mhm.
right now, sitting talking at this interview, right? So something changed, but it takes time, it takes courage again to look into those parts of yourself and be honest with yourself, be vulnerable enough to really like acknowledge that this is something within me that I need to look into, because we are avoiding that. So many distractions, and it's very easy for us to be distracted. Sometimes we even do it on purpose to not look into those parts.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I agree. And you said something really, really interesting as far as I think for whatever reason, maybe it's the self-help publishing industry, I don't know, but it seems like we're really encouraged to fix ourselves, to find our weaknesses and fix them. Um, and but we aren't often told to find our strengths and build on them. When really things are weaknesses often for a reason, because it isn't interesting to us, because we don't have a natural talent or a skill that we've wanted to develop. Whereas our strengths often come with natural talents, and
Mhm.
it is something that we just really enjoy doing.
Yeah.
So a couple of questions that I encourage clients to think about to uncover their own strengths are include things like what do other people come to you for advice about? And
Mhm.
what have you learned super, super quickly? What was really easy for you to learn? Um, what is something that you feel like you could teach or explain to someone else? And some of these questions get us thinking about where those strengths are, even when we don't realize it. Um, and some of the things that other people are recognizing. Another great question is to
Mhm.
ask some of our trusted supporters, a partner or close friends or family, what they think our strengths are, because often they can see amazing things in us that it's difficult for us to see ourselves.
Mm.
Um, but just that shift in our mental framework from fixing ourselves to making ourselves even stronger, I think there's a lot of power that can come in that shift.
Yeah, and thank you for mentioning that. I think that's a great tool that we can just switch our focus on what is that easy for us to do, and we do it without even thinking what are our strengths and our expertise really that comes with it. What can we teach others by doing what we're just doing like easily? And with us really seeing for ourselves, recognizing that, acknowledging that, we then know that this is the value. This is the value that we can share with others. And now that we know, and now that it's in the spotlight, right? Like we really can build on it and maybe make a career out of it or build a business around it, whatever it is. But then, like, this is perhaps connected to the purpose that you're here to do, perhaps, and serve other people. And that's a great way for us to really um, start believing in ourselves and our abilities, because every one of us has their own strength, and it could be different from one person to another. We're unique in our own way, but that's that's the beauty of it, right?
I
Yeah.
love that. I couldn't agree more.
All right. I'm so grateful we had that conversation. And for those who would like to connect with you online, how can they find you?
Well, my business is called Interlace Solutions, and I'm not very creative, so the website is interlacesolutions.com. My handle on all the socials is also at Elle O'Flaherty, again, so showing a lot of creativity. But I would love to connect. This is really my life's work and passion, and so please absolutely feel free to reach out.
Thank you so much. And as we close today, what would be the final thought for our listeners?
I would challenge your listeners to go on their own journey of joy, taking a joy audit of their lives and seeing where they can add more fun, more humor, and more joy in the everyday, in the big and the small ways.
Yes. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy your day.
Thank you. You too. I really appreciate talking to you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, hit the subscribe button and share it with others. Stay tuned.